Hi everybody, welcome back to The Limit Breakdown, where we break down the latest in TV, movies, and things going on in entertainment. Today we're going to be covering the new Top Gun Maverick release. And our too long didn't watch review of it is 4 hearts. That means we enjoyed this movie. It was a fun ride from beginning to end. I think it's worth going to see it. Alright, check us out after the intro. We'll see ya.
Welcome back, everybody, and today we're reviewing Top Gun Maverick, the sequel to the 1980s Top Gun movie featuring Tom Cruise. So this movie actually is a sequel to the first 1980s movie, where now Pete Maverick, what's his last name? I forgot his last name. Everybody calls him Maverick. But now he's been like 30 years since he left the Top Gun Institute in the 80s movie. He's like a test pilot, and then the military has a special mission, and they need his skills to teach the new generation of pilots to do this virtually basically impossible mission. And they bring him in, and it's basically a rough ride of how he sees himself, how the military sees him, and now the students have to learn from him and how that goes about. Overall, what did you think of the movie?
So, I had very, not high expectations, but I was very precautious about what this movie was going to bring to the table, because, again, typical nowadays with bringing back old properties, doing sequels. We've seen it with like Dumb and Dumber. We've seen it with Ghostbusters Afterlife. Like they're
Matrix.
Yeah, Matrix. Trying to do these sequels that are like 20, 30 some odd years apart, and so sometimes it doesn't always work out. And I honestly did not expect a whole lot. I was pleasantly surprised. I felt like they kept the soul of the Top Gun movies. Top Gun was one of my favorite movies growing up. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be a fighter pilot.
Yeah.
And so it was...
It was definitely, in the 80s, it was like a man's movie, right? Yeah. Like everyone, that's where everyone started doing like the names, the call signs. They're like, oh, you're Maverick. That's how everyone started doing their nicknames. I know like our friends, we definitely quote that movie, the first movie at least, all the time. It's one of the reasons why Ray-Ban's Aviators became super popular. Right after that movie came out, everybody's went out and started buying Aviators because of that movie. But yeah, as you said, the sequel, phenomenal. I definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was going to be very campy. A lot of times sequels, what they do is they'll copy and paste the exact plot from the first movie, or they'll go completely off the rail.
Yeah.
I think this movie had elements of the first movie which were good, but they had its own plot, right, which I thought was also good. It was just, and then taking that in, this movie definitely was worth it. I was very, very satisfied going in and watching this movie.
I thoroughly enjoyed the story that they told us, right? Because they take Maverick and they bring him in, and it's basically, he's kind of been doing his thing for this whole time. He was never interested in becoming a general. Iceman became admiral.
Yeah.
So he climbed up the military hierarchy. And he was just interested in going fast and going for the next challenge and doing.
He just wanted to genuinely fly. Yeah, that was his passion.
And it was pretty interesting. So they had this mission that was super difficult. And the cool thing about it was he wasn't dealing with like a single Top Gun class. He was dealing with the best of the best.
Yeah.
So it was like, the little montage in the beginning is like, oh, well, we're all the top of our class. Like, what is anybody going to teach us about flying? And so then, they see him, they just kind of see him, like the little bar scene was funny when they throw him out of the bar.
And I really like the callback from that movie the very next day when they throw him out of the bar, and the next day he walks in there like, oh shit, that's the guy we threw out.
Yeah.
And it calls back to the first movie when he's trying to get with the girl, and the next day she's the one that walks in.
Yeah.
It's a very cool parallels there. Yeah, so that was one thing that I really liked. As far as the cast goes, I think Tom Cruise still has it. I generally like Tom Cruise. I think he's a great actor. At least in the movies that he does. He's been in a few movies that I'm like, this is not you. Tom Cruise is great. I'm so glad they brought in Jennifer Connelly. I still think that woman is very attractive. I don't care what anyone says. I still think from the time she was younger till now, she's a very attractive woman. Miles Teller.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen him in some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a great actor.
Yeah.
And he definitely nailed the role of
Rooster,
who is in this movie Goose's son.
Yeah.
So in the first movie, Goose was Tom Cruise's Maverick's wingman.
Yeah.
Or second, I don't know what they're called in the military.
Yeah.
But in this movie, he is his son.
It's like a navigator position.
Yeah. And he's a son. And he has like certain feelings towards Maverick. But Mazda's a phenomenal actor. I think he did a great job. So as far as the casting, I think they did really well.
There was a lot of things that I really liked in this movie. The action sequences were phenomenal. The dog fights were phenomenal.
Oh god, yeah.
They always part of the appeal of Top Gun, and I don't know if you know the statistic, but I think if I remember correctly, Navy recruitment spiked by like 60% after the first Top Gun movie.
That's crazy.
That's great. It really hyped up enthusiasm for the
fighter pilot.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, man. Like,
is that why you joined the Navy?
That was actually no, legit. That was one of the reasons I wanted to fly, but also other issues had, but we'll save that for a different video.
Fair, yeah.
But yeah, no, that was actually why I joined the Navy. They nailed the action sequences. They nailed. There was a good bit of humor in there. It wasn't all like I was afraid because rewatching the original Top Gun, like you said, it's a very much like an 80s man's man type of movie. The funniest thing for me is knowing in real life that Tom Cruise is short. Like, I'm a short guy. We've learned to deal with that aspect of it. But like the one scene where in the original Top Gun, where it's like the love scene, like that mandatory lovemaking scene in every 80s action movie. And then like you can tell that like the shadows are like just slightly off. Yeah. It's just absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. Watching
it on a rewatch now, like, and especially with her being the position that she was in and just having to be like, I'm so impressed with you. I love you. And it's just like such a hetero man fantasy, and as a hetero man, like yes.
I agree. One thing that I actually liked in the new movie was, like you said, the fighting, the actual airplane, dog fights that they do in there. The aerial work was so well done. It definitely blew it out of the water, especially like the crazy acrobats that they did. Like, I know that's that happens, but like watching it on screen and seeing all the crazy stuff they do, it blew my mind. I thought it was
the majority of the footage is from actual pilots. Like the air to air stuff. Now there are some stuff that's not possible, like the thing where they fly upside down like that, like that's physically impossible.
That was inverted.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's impossible. I just think it's very improbable. But yeah.
Let's just say the reflexes that you would have to have in order to be able to achieve that.
Yeah. I'd say about 2 meters, 1.5. I have a good Polaroid. But so getting to the actual plot line. So the plot line is they have to navigate in this very tight chasm to go over a mountain, go down, hit this target, and then go back up. And it just seemed so ridiculous to me.
Okay.
I mean, I get it from a movie perspective.
So here's my thing, right? And it actually worked out that we put the Star Wars figures out in Top Gun, because while watching this whole scene, they're like, "Oh yeah, we got to go through here, go through these tunnels, and then we hit this target that's about 7 feet wide." And as soon as they said that, I'm going, "That's no bigger than a womp rat."
Yeah. So when we were watching it, Linda was like, "Is that the plot from Star Wars?" I was like, "Are they hitting the air vents? Just did he use the Force?" Like, so it was very Star Wars at that point.
Yeah. So especially the whole actual trajectory of the mission, I was like, this is their version of blowing up the Death Star. But I mean, it worked.
Yeah,
it worked.
One thing that did make sense to me, so they had this really impossible thing, and they're like, they have to go underneath the anti-air missiles. But once they have to go up the mountain, invert, come down, hit the target, go back up in 9 to 10 Gs. But as soon as they come up, they're going to be going into territory where now the anti-air can hit them. My question was, once they're going up, why can't they reflip into the inverted, go back down the mountain so they don't hit that threshold?
It's one of the
or is that gonna be physically impossible? Like I generally don't know.
From what I remember about that particular scene, it was the terrain, because the whole reason they had to go up like that was because there was literally a mountain right there, and so whether they were upwards or inverted, it wouldn't have made a difference. And this incline was the fastest way to be able to get out and forward, because once they got past a certain point, they would get past the reach of the missiles. And the whole thing was not just to get past the missiles, but to be able to get in and out fast enough to avoid having to deal with the enemy aircraft.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, that was the one question. I was like, why can't they just re-invert, go away? But that makes a lot more sense. Yeah. One of the scenes. So right after that, when so the mission wasn't successful, they hit the targets, whatever. They were trying to escape. And while trying to escape, they're in the dogfight of the the anti-air. Miles Teller's airplane is about to get attacked. Tom Cruise, Maverick, comes saves the day, but he gets hit, crash lands.
Yeah.
And then the throwback to me was, so now Miles Teller's character, Rooster, has to come back, save him, but then he gets hit, right? And then I was thinking about that to myself. I was like, what, in that situation, right? Like, what equifies following the rule to saving somebody? Like, what, at a certain point, I agree. But at a certain point, I was like, there should be some sort of balance. Like, where do you cross the line?
I mean, listen, this is going to sound incredibly cold. But the harsh reality of the situation is that in that particular situation, as a pilot or a member of the armed forces, like, you have to follow orders. Like, if they tell you, hey, like, these guys, they know what they signed up for. They know what the risks are. They know what the potential for death and injury and all that exceeds. You are jeopardizing more than just yourself by going back, because they weren't the only two there, right? Now, of course, it's Hollywood, and it all worked. It all worked out. Not every I can tell you that not every POW magically found an old working F-14.
Which is my next point. When they got into that base, I understand sneaking into the base. I understand the commotion. I understand starting the airplane. I understand. They were able to easily get out and fly this plane out without anybody noticing or shooting at them or being like, that's the part that didn't make sense to me.
Actually, to me, that was what I thought would be the most realistic.
At least there should be somebody be like, hold on, somebody just started an old plane and is pulling out. What?
Well, the reason I said is the most realistic to me is because in the midst of that chaos, if you remember, they launched missiles onto that base.
Yes.
Right. The whole point of launching those missiles was to basically cause a distraction and to try to take out as many and try to take out as many of the enemy aircraft.
Yeah.
So the people on that base, they're putting out fires. They're rescuing people from wreckage. They're doing all of these things. If it's understandable that if an aircraft isn't being launched at that particular moment, that keeping an eye on it wouldn't necessarily be a priority.
Fair, I suppose.
I mean, obviously, do I think that that's possible in real life?
I mean, yeah, but I thought there should be at least some sort of somebody be like, oh my god, at least try to shoot.
While look, it is not uncommon practice for the U.S. military to sell older technology to other countries,
of course,
and all that. But the fact that
new technology,
at
this point.
But the fact that you're going to Maverick. He has, arguably the most experience on an F-14. And
the funniest thing, when Rooster got in the back, he's like, this thing is so old, doesn't he have a radio? And I could just going through my mind, I was like, if somebody from our age to Nicholas or somebody else that looks at a phone, back in the day had dial flip phones, and they're like, what is this? How do I dial on this? It's just, that scene was so funny to me. And then he, Miles Teller's character, he was just like, I'm ready to die. I don't even care about anything else anymore. This thing's not gonna run.
One little nitpick, and again, I thoroughly enjoyed the scene of them in the F-14. I thoroughly enjoyed the whole victory of it. Mm-hmm. Again, maybe I like French cinema, so my dark. Well, look, we Americans were very accustomed to the happy ending and the big victory and whatever. Whereas I would have been perfectly satisfied with, as they're trying to go do the mission, right? And as they've executed, as they're leaving, and Tom Cruise gets in the way of the missile to save Rooster, right? And his plane goes down. Mm-hmm. If Rooster would have kept going like he should have. If Rooster would have kept going and Tom Cruise would have died at that movie, I would have been perfectly fine. Because then at that point, Tom Cruise would have been at peace because he saved Rooster.
And he died doing the thing.
And he died doing the thing that he loved. And then Rooster would have been like, oh shit, this guy really did care for me. It would have given him a different perspective as to the whole dynamic between him and the situation with his dad, and both of those storylines would have been resolved. I mean, they were still resolved anyway. It was just a bit more flair for the dramatic, I suppose. And like I said, it would have been one of those. That's why I said it's French cinema. It would have been bittersweet.
Yeah. So actually, speaking of that. So if you look at the entire movie, right, there's a lot of movies, new and old, whatever, and sometimes they have moments in the movies where it's a little bit slower drag or something's going on. I don't think I ever felt, at least I don't think I felt that in this movie, including the forced love relationship between Tom Cruise and Jennifer Connelly. I understand why they put that relationship in there to kind of hold him down, ground him, or whatever. Yeah. It was an important piece, but even throughout that, I didn't feel that there was any moment in that movie where it was kind of slow or draggy. Yeah. Which I think that's why we say it's a 4 out of 5, because it wasn't boring. Right. It had a good pace. It had highs of the dog fighting of the main mission. It had the lows of the emotional aspect of him trying to understand.
Dude, those final action sequences had me on the edge of my seat. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I did call. I knew at the very end when they're coming back home in the old plane and they can't shake off the enemy.
Oh yeah.
I called it. I was like, Hangman is gonna come at the very end and save their day. Yeah. And he's gonna be like, I am the best. And now that is my favorite quote. Yeah. He's like, oh, you are. He's like, yes, I know, I'm good. I was like, that's my favorite. That's my favorite now. I had a feeling he was gonna come, but it was even knowing that was gonna happen. It was still very entertaining to see. But yeah, throughout the movie I never felt that it was slow or anything like that. No draggy, anything like that. So I'm very satisfied with that part. Yeah.
I also really respected that they took the time to properly pay homage to all of the original characters. Like the fact that they still included Val Kilmer in the movie.
I did not know he was going to be in the movie until they I knew he was. They were like testing, and I was like, they're not going to show him. Yeah. And they actually did. Yeah. Oh man, I was like, oh, no, Val Kilmer.
That was actually kind of emotional. Like you know.
Does he have an actual speech thing, or did he just do that for the movie?
I'm not sure, but okay. I know you know his health problems.
Yeah, he is a real old. I will say when his character Iceman dies, that was actually like a huge thing. Like I was like, oh my god, like it was because we grew up with these characters. It kind of I was like, damn, you know that character like now, and he's the only one that's left from that group. So he now is like I'm by myself. Yeah. So that was a definitely very touching moment.
Although, and again, this is being a little bit nitpicky. Like I don't necessarily like that they made him just kind of such a loner, such a maverick, if you will. But like, because I felt like in the original movie, his characteristic, it wasn't so much that he refused to follow the rules. It's just that he had a tendency to trust his instincts more than and you know that's not necessarily, you know, such a bad thing, I don't think, but. You know, I didn't necessarily like how they're like, oh yeah, he never moved any farther than this and da.
See, I was thinking about that,
and then of course, because I've actually served, there's the you can't just stay the same rank in the military for your entire career. Like if you stall out at a certain point and it's like, hey, you know, eventually the military is going to come up and be like, hey man, you've been passed up for promotion like for the 5th time in a row, so. You know, it's about time for you to retire, bro.
I actually did like that part. Like, they were like, hey, you can be promoted. You don't want to. And I think they showed that throughout the movie. He's like, and even at the very end, he's like, I just want to fly. Yeah. He's like, I'm a fighter pilot. Yeah. Even if I'm not fighting, I enjoy flying. And that's all I want to do. He knew that as soon as he goes up the... military ladder, he's going to be pushing papers, doing that. Yes, he could have had more money, been more comfortable, but he won't get to do the thing he loved. Yeah. And I think that aspect I actually did understand. So I thought that part was actually pretty great. So that highway to the danger zone.
But final thoughts.
Very enjoyable movie. I think they did a really good job on the sequel. Very entertaining, good pace throughout. Do I think it's a phenomenal over-the-top movie? No, but it's definitely a good movie. Great sequel to the original Top Gun. Great homage, including the very end when they get off and everybody's congratulating. And the same, the Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise handshake that happens at the end of the first one. Same parallel with the Rooster and Hangman. Yeah. So and I was like, those parallels in the movie I think were great. So overall... Good movie. Definitely recommend seeing.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. It was way better than I expected it to be. Had me on the edge of my seat for the majority of the action sequences. Like you said, the pacing was excellent. I think the cast did a phenomenal job. They hit some really good emotional beats. I mean, you know, part of it is the appeal of these types of movies is the nostalgia, and you know, they definitely had me hook, line, and sinker. And yeah, man, it was just a fun movie. Like it's been a while that I had as much fun at a movie as I had with this one. Yeah, so I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. So for anyone that's seen the first Top Gun as a fan, highly recommend
it. Definitely go check it out. Yep.
Highway to the danger zone.
All right, guys, that's going to conclude it for this episode. Appreciate you checking in with us, and check us out next time. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching our content. As we gear up to continue having our channel grow, we're nearing our 100th subscriber. We're doing a giveaway for this great Stan Lee collectible. We're very excited about this. If you want to be eligible to win this bad boy, need you to like, subscribe, and leave a comment under the video. That way we can choose the winner as soon as we get to that 100th subscriber. We're very excited for the upcoming content. We've got lots of movies that are coming out that we're going to review. We're very, very excited. Thanks, guys, for watching. Bye.
If you like our videos, please subscribe and hit the like button.